15 Minutes with Marlon, trending news and headlines.
Hey everybody, it's Marlon Gomez, and in the next 15 minutes, we're going to go through the top headlines of the day in the industry, in our community, and what we're talking about.
Does 401k plan make sense for savers?
So listen, we're becoming a country of not savers, right? We all had this thing established in our mind that we need to save money, save for a rainy day, save for retirement. That no longer applies, and I'll tell you why. So look, right now we just printed trillions of dollars. I tell you, trillions of dollars. Yes, it was necessary to help the entire country, but if you think into the future, what happens to those dollars? The dollar that you have now, right, it's going to be worth substantially less later, right? So it no longer makes sense to save. A lot of the companies are also going bankrupt, right? The very well solid established companies, they're disappearing by the day. I'm not a negative person. I don't want to give you guys a lot of fear, but what I do want to tell you guys is the best place to invest right now is in real estate, right? If I was on your side, what would I be doing? I'd be taking out my 401k, putting it into multifamily assets. Why? Because we have seen, right? Anecdotally, people always talked about this. They said, hey, you know what? Real estate is the best vehicle for investments. And by the way, multifamily is really the best one that's out there. However, I was anecdotal. All of a sudden, the coronavirus hit and it got tested. And what has happened in the last few months, we have seen, all right, in the last few months, we have seen a few different things. Existing multifamily properties have been operating at historical highs, meaning that tenants are still paying their rents. The defaults are not showing up, right? Yes, there's been some of these PPP funds that have helped some folks, but the whole purpose of having help throughout the process is once jobs restart again, then they'll continue to make their payments. So what does that mean? Everybody needs a place to live. That adage has been true from the beginning of time, and it is not it's just as true today. So if you have a 401k, give it some thought, talk to your financial planner, ask them if you should be invested in real estate. Look, I just opened up the building right behind me a couple of months ago, right? In April, I'm 75% leased. Think about that, 75% leased in this brand new multifamily development. Now, project gets refinanced, hold on to it for the next 30 years, and guess what? That's the 401k, right? It's not having that in the markets, which are extremely volatile right now, like up and down. Nobody knows what's happening. There's a lot of fear in the markets, right? I don't say it's to scare you, but there's a lot of fear. And anybody that tells you they know what the market is going to do is probably just trying to sell you something, right? I'm not trying to sell you anything except wherever you are, in whatever part of the country you're in, try to invest in real estate, right? And I don't necessarily mean just a single family home. Those are great, but try to invest in something that's going to be income producing, and it's going to help you weather the storm, the next crisis or the next virus that comes along, right? So always keep that in mind.
How will COVID-19 create a tough market for condo sales?
So right now, the most difficult thing to sell are condos. And in Miami, we're living proof. Miami's always been up and down all the time since the beginning of the 1980s when the first glut of condos started coming to the market. It's always been like that. Now, even more so, more challenging. But I'm hearing conflicting news. Like, this morning, I got a report that said, hey, the opportunity for buyers to buy condos and for sale product is there. Then I hear conflicting news in the afternoon that says, oh no, you know what? Nobody's buying any more condos in Miami. I think it really depends on one, price point, right? And investor appetite. If you're an investor and you're living in Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, somewhere foreign, and you're looking at the United States, you might be thinking, there's a little bit of a discount there. I may take that jump and leap and buy the unit. If you're a local investor and you've just lost, some of your other income because some of the properties that you own aren't performing the same, or some of the businesses that you're running aren't performing the same, you may hold back from buying a condominium, in Miami or elsewhere. I tend to believe that moving forward, single family houses, Townhouses especially are going to do a lot better. Why? Because COVID has caused people to want to separate, right? That's pretty obvious. But when you think in terms of, path to travel to your house, you want to have your own garage so you can park your cars, and you want to have your block walls that kind of divide you and the neighbor, right? That's kind of important for people right now. Not everybody's going to be able to buy them. They may go and buy a condominium at a lower price point, but I think the market has been hit pretty substantially by COVID, and we'll see how things evolve over the next few months. The Miami Herald came up with some news this morning that said, hey, it's buying time for for sale product. I have a 40-unit townhouse project on the Miami River, right? Very unique. It's a townhouse project that's coming to the market, right? That's not a condominium. So I'm not afraid of, having the different concerns that they have. So but we'll see. Time will tell.
Will virtual apartments play a vital role in leasing process even after pandemic ends?
So guys, right now I think there was a substantial shift, a seismic shift in how lease ups are going to be performed into the future, right? So what you see behind me, a multifamily building that I just finished. So we opened, and I say this opened, we actually never opened, right? The county shut down, right? The day that we were going to open the doors. They shut down. They said you cannot get your TCO. And 3 days later, we did everything we could and we got our TCO, which meant here's a document that allows us to open the doors, okay? Well, you can't open the doors. What do? You go all in on virtual lease up. You go all in with the Matterports, you go all in with the videos, you go all in with the pictures, you go all in with, FaceTime walkthroughs, you go all in with more dollars in advertising, more dollars through apartments.com, more dollars through every single platform that you can. You go all in. In the most difficult times, you invest, you put your chips in, you don't step back, you don't crumble, and you don't stop, right? Because had we not opened the doors, we'd probably still be waiting. But because we proceeded through virtual lease up, which nobody would have ever thought that would have even been remotely possible just January alone, if I would have said that, right? Now the rest of the market's starting to kind of catch up. They're starting to see, hey, this virtual lease up is making its waves through some of these brand new lease up communities. So fast forward, we open up in April, mid-April. Today, guys, we're almost to the end of July. We are 75% leased up. That is remarkable. That's a testament to the great team, right, that did the lease up. Testament to the location. That's extremely important. You have to have a good location, right? Because the location is the one that's going to bring you people. But listen to this very carefully. You also have to have a good price point. And that price point, you can fluctuate depending on what it costs you to buy your multifamily building or what it costs you to build, right? I built it cheaper. I could decrease the rents. I didn't mean I put cheaper quality. I just meant I built it cheaper, right? Because you look at the real details of what things truly cost, okay? And you have good quality. You open your doors and you put your whole team to wrap around virtual lease up. I think we're going to see a lot more of these communities do this moving forward, especially right now, right? The social distancing is real. A lot of the communities are still closing up. Down here in Miami, it's very difficult. Maybe in other parts of the country, things are scaling back somewhat. But even so, there's a massive benefit to virtual leasing. Why are you going to wait to have prospective tenants walk through your door when you can just engage with them wherever they are in the world and say, okay, I have it. I can show you the unit right now. Let's talk about it, right? That to me is going to revolutionize leasing in the future. I'd love to hear all the other property managers out there chime in on something like this. But it is definitely the way that I think things will be moving.
How will state by state look at efforts to provide housing relief during the pandemic?
Yeah, so I think it's important. I think every single state needs to provide housing relief, right? It's a very, very difficult situation for a lot of people, right? I think there has to be plans and programs that help others, and then there's ways that those others can help pay back. So So I don't necessarily think that here's all this free money. Maybe it's here are these funds that will help you weather the storm, and then work on some sort of payback arrangement over a course of a long time. Otherwise, our kids, our future kids, everybody else will have this whole, substantial tax burden. So I think everybody has to come together, work together to find better solutions than the ones that we currently have now. But I absolutely think in the time of need, yes, everybody needs assistance and they need help in whatever way they, shape their situation is at, because it's very difficult out there. A lot of folks don't have work. Some numbers were at like 40 million unemployed Americans. That is just, crushing to say the least. 2 household formations that didn't have anybody working. I mean, come on, and barely had any savings are being devastated right now. So they definitely need some relief, some assistance, and then some workaround plans. Maybe it's the employment's not there any longer, but it's training and learning new skill sets to help get back on track.
What do you think about arrangements pop up for renters to own stakes in their apartment complexes?
So the National Real Estate Investor today told us that tenants, right, the landlords are looking for opportunistic ways to give tenants a share in the building. I think that's pretty neat, right? Anytime that we try to create something or a vehicle that helps others, I think it's extremely positive. I don't know how well that's going to work out, because if you're a tenant and you're going to buy a fractionalized percentage in the building, think about this for a second. If the building costs $10 million and you're the tenant and you're going to apply $1,000 rent to that, your fractional share might be very small. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'll tell you this, I'm all for it. If I could offer the same thing to my residents in my units, I absolutely would. But it's very interesting. So I'd love to see how that kind of unfolds over time and see, who else brings it to the market first. I'm not the first guy that's going to jump headfirst into something. I want to understand it, analyze it, see how it flows through, and then make a decision. Don't ever jump into quick decisions, because that's how you get into trouble. So with these tenants, for them to have a equity interest, it's interesting to see. I do it a little differently. I bring in my investors to participate in the buildings, right? To participate in the developments or in the acquisitions. That's a little different structure, because my investors don't necessarily live in my buildings. At no point in time will I ever tell my investor, hey, you're in default of your lease and my property management company needs to have you move on to somewhere else. That would be a very, very difficult conversation to have. So more power to those guys, and I look forward to seeing what else they have.
15 minutes with Marlon, trending news and headlines.